Alright, so this is a bit of a video on my Mannlicher Schoenauer 6.5 by 54. This is a gun that was made by Steyr in Austria. This particular gun I believe to have been made sometime after 1950, and the reason for that is that the buttstock is actually plastic instead of metal. Pre-war Mannlicher Schoenauers were actually metal buttstocks. The reason I wanted to make this video is that this particular gun has some interesting features that are actually factory. I went back and found some catalogs. If you wanted to order these are something you could get out of the Shooter's Bible, for example. Stoeger would import them. And they're one of the big reasons that a lot of people will call the full stock the Mannlicher stock was because this gun was so popular, and it was the gun that most Americans in particular would actually connect to the full stock, even though there are other full stocked guns, and really any sort of hunting rifle can have a full stock. It was just that for so many years, if you had a full stocked rifle, odds are it was one of these. Now this particular gun, if I open it up, has some things that you might be interested in. It is a cock gun open gun. If I open it up here, and I'm going to see what I can do about bringing it in a little bit closer. The primary reason I wanted to actually create this video was because this gun actually has a peep sight, and you'll notice that the bolt sort of stopped on that peep sight. Now, because this bolt is actually split, putting a peep on it is very difficult. But peeps are, of course, extremely popular and have been extremely popular with hunters in America for a long time. So Lyman came up with the Model 63 peep sight, or Lyman 63, and it was built specifically for this split receiver. And if I go ahead and just work the action, you can see it's on a spring, and it allows me to actually work the action without the peep being damaged or being broken. Now, one of the things about this gun, if you've never seen one, that's interesting also, is that the magazine is a rotary magazine. You can see if I push this here, so you'll actually put bullets in and then we'll go around in the rotary. This gun also has an option that I haven't seen on many others, but I have seen in the catalog, and that's this full top rib. This was not something that you would get on every gun. My understanding is this was a more high-end feature, and I don't know how many were ordered or how many are actually out there. This engraving also is slightly confusing from a standpoint of how many of these guns were engraved, and is also a bit troublesome to me because this engraving is right over where Steyr would actually put the information about what the gun was, what model it was, and so forth. So that's why I believe this gun was built after 1950, but I'm not entirely sure. I should have a model number right where this engraving is. I'm not saying I don't like the engraving. I think it's quite nice to have a little bit of light engraving on a gun, but it is slightly annoying to me that I can't actually tell you exactly what model of gun this is. I'm sure I'll figure it out one of these days. The last thing about this that you might not be personally familiar with, but you might be interested in, is a set trigger. Why are there two triggers here? Now, a double set trigger is actually a way to have an extremely light, like a target type trigger on a hunting gun. So if I pull the front trigger right now, it will be just like a regular hunting rifle. It will be a fairly long, a little bit harder trigger pull. But if I actually pull the rear trigger until I get that click, then it sets the front trigger, and this becomes extremely light. In fact, I'm going to set it off just by pressing right there, and you can see it's just almost nothing. At the factory, they would actually set these to 3.5 ounces. So the idea is that if you're out just hunting and you need to take a snapshot, you certainly can. But if you have enough time to line up your shot, you can actually have a trigger that's much nicer and shouldn't throw your shot off at all. You'll find set triggers on a variety of different guns. These days, the gun that I see that seems to have it standard would be the new CZs, like a CZ550. Has what's called a single set trigger, where you actually will press the trigger forward. It's similar to like an old Winchester. Winchester lever actions would actually have, you'd see two triggers, but what would happen is this rear trigger would push forward until it's set, and then the front trigger would be a set trigger. There's a variety of different ones. If you see a rifle with two triggers, now you have an idea of what that actually means.